Welcome to the Bucket Plan on Demand, a podcast for financial advisors based on the best-selling book and process that simplifies financial planning. Hear from skilled industry professionals and special guests each episode that will help perfect your approach with clients and your results.
Welcome. I'm Kirsten Schlumbohm, Vice President and Head of Annuity Sales here at C2P. I am being joined today by Bri Conn. Bri is a Childfree Wealth Specialist at Childfree Wealth, a life and financial planning firm dedicated to serving child-free and permanently childless individuals. She is a Childfree Wealth Specialist and co-host of the Childfree Wealth podcast, helping clients build meaningful, value-driven lives without children. Welcome, Bri. I'm so happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me today, Kirsten. I'm very excited to have this conversation with you.
I am too. Like we were talking before we started recording, I'm one of those people that have chosen not to have children. So you're speaking to a topic that is near, dear, and relevant to my own situation. So I'm excited to learn more about what you do, and you help people like myself. So our topic today is helping your clients with child-free wealth. So I'm going to dig right in today. And Bri, will you share with us, our audience, some of your professional and financial background as well as your firm?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually started in marketing. I was not in finance initially. I'm a career changer and worked in marketing for a number of years, decided this isn't for me anymore. I want to move to finance. And I moved to finance, didn't have the expectation to work with child-free individuals. I always say it was an accident that I happened to be in this niche and continue to stay in it. I love it now that I've been in it, but I learned about it through a Facebook group for people who didn't have kids and were not planning on having kids. That's how Dr. J, the founder of Childfree Wealth, and I met initially. And after some conversations, I asked for a job and he said, I need to think about that. And then called me back a day or two later and said, I think we can make this work. And now we've been working together for a few years now, and it's been fantastic. But it wasn't something where I initially thought it was going to be the niche that I was in. And now I'm here. I love it. Dr. J. Zygmunt, the founder of Childfree Wealth, started it because when he was going through the CFP education, he said, there's a lot of information in here, but none of it really applies to me in the sense of I don't have kids. My wife and I don't have kids. We're not going to have kids. So what are we supposed to do? And that was where the idea for Childfree Wealth started. And he started the firm, and now I came on board. Now we've got some other people on board, and then we continue to grow.
I love that. You're kind of like me, an accidental tourist into the financial services industry. I had an idea that I was going to save the world by being a social worker, and I fell into the industry and I fell in love with it. So as you've been growing in this industry, what are some of the most important financial planning differences when working with child-free clients compared to clients with children?
The number one question we always ask our clients is, do you care about how much money you leave behind when you die? And many times the answer is, no, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. And so right there, that's where we start with our differences. And then we have the conversation with people of, well, if you don't care about how much money that you pass on to the next generation, how much you earn throughout your life can be different. How you invest your money can be different. And we often go to the concept of die with zero. There's a book by Bill Perkins called Die with Zero. And we use a lot of those concepts with our clients of, okay, we're going to, at some point, you're going to be in the accumulation phase, you're going to earn money. And at some point, you need to bring that down and start spending the money that you have and really enjoying it. Because if you don't care about how much money you leave behind, then why are we working to go follow that standard life script of continuing to build wealth and then pass it on to the next generation when that next generation doesn't exist for you and is not going to exist? That's our very just fundamental key difference that we start with for many of our clients.
I love that. You're giving them permission to spend their money because we spend so much time accumulating. Then we'll try to persevere. And then we go to the distribution phase and we're like, what am I going to do with this? So I love that. You're giving them permission to live that retirement they've always wanted to live. And that's what they've saved hard for. Many advisors use legacy planning or providing for the next generation as a motivator. How do you reframe legacy for clients without kids or heirs?
So we talk often about legacy of it's just going to look a little bit different. And you can have a legacy, but it doesn't have to be a genetic legacy. Some people's legacy are they help and they just really want to focus on their community close by and really making a difference in those people's lives. We've had a client who what they wanted was they just said, All they wanted to be remembered for was having a really nice garden that brought a lot of joy to their neighbors and the people around them. And that's what they did. And that's their big legacy is they garden, they love it, and they make it really beautiful. And it's just something where people can come and enjoy it. Other ones are, hey, we want to help other people grow into good individuals, good humans that go out and do good for others too. And so it can be a variety of different things. Maybe it's many for us working with child-free clients, it's hey, can we have an impact on the lives of other child-free individuals and really give them that permission to live their life. But it's finding oftentimes what feels like a purpose for them and using that and helping say, okay, this purpose can be more so your legacy. It doesn't have to be having children.
I love that because, again, like we were talking before, people always ask, well, what are you going to do? You don't have kids. How do you leave a legacy? And they think I'm joking when I'm saying I'm going to save the puppies of the world.
Yeah.
That's my legacy. I love helping and rescuing animals. So you're speaking my language. How do estate planning strategies change when a client doesn't have obvious beneficiaries like children, close family, or maybe they haven't found that passion where they'd like to leave a legacy too?
Part of it is when we're working to spend down that money, there's not really going to be a lot left behind at the end. So it's how can you spend it throughout your life? And many times we will say, hey, if you don't have a specific individual you wanted to leave it to, whatever is left behind, let's look for a charity. And it might take a couple times to try. Many times I'll say, let's go volunteer. I've started this concept now with clients of volunteer at a few different places. And then I always tell them to write down what their experience was, because I'm sure we've all done volunteering things we love and we want to do again. And we've also done volunteering things where we've done it and went, maybe that's not for me, actually. I don't want to do that again in the future. And doing those things and trying those out can help you determine whether or not maybe that's an organization you want to leave your money to at the end, whatever is left over. But many times when we're trying to give something, we encourage clients to give throughout their life. But we can also have that conversation of let's just find a charity that impacts you or you've been a part of and you enjoy to give at the end. It can be nieces and nephews too. We've seen that a few times with different people, but it doesn't. I think we often look for the obvious beneficiary and then we can get discouraged when there isn't one. That just means we have to work a little bit harder.
So I have just a question that pops into my head as you were talking. Do you have a network then that you share with your clients to help them find that volunteer experience that might speak to them? Or is it more of what are you passionate about? So where can we help you find that opportunity?
I will often tell clients to just talk to their friends. What are some things that they'll volunteer at and they like to do? Is it something that matches for them? You talked about puppies and dogs. I say, go find all of those different things in your area. See what there is, go try it out and how you can get involved. It doesn't have to be a specific network. There are networks like Volunteer Match where you can sign up and find different things. Sometimes just being part of different groups. If you're a part of like a professional group, that can be a great way to go find volunteer things or other sort of, if you're like I love to hike. So sometimes what we'll do, our hiking group, is we'll go out and volunteer at different things. And that's a way for me to learn about different organizations. So if there's groups that people are part of where it doesn't have to be volunteer focused, but it's just something they all enjoy and they go out and volunteer together, that can be a really good way to find it. But it's pretty easy once you start digging to find lots of different things where people are looking for volunteers all the time at a number of different organizations.
I love that. I mean, I think everybody gets into this idea that there has to be one path. I mean, I love puppies, but I also support the Special Olympics. I grew up with a sister with a diagnosis of Down syndrome. So I've got a lot of passion for helping those with intellectual disability. So when you are able to pop that hood open with your clients and dig into what motivates them, what are they passionate about, I'm sure it's a lot easier. But I love that. What are some common assumptions or biases advisors may bring into meetings with child-free clients, and how can they avoid them? Because that's important because, if I'm shopping for a financial advisor, I want them to speak with me, one, as a single person or no child-free. I recently got married, so excuse me. A childless. Also, I just, want to make sure that they're talking to me as a woman as well. So how can we help our advisors avoid common mistakes?
The number one thing is just recognize that people are living a different life. We always say to our clients, when you're looking for a financial planner, it's okay for them to say they don't know what Childfree makes different in their financial plan. That's okay. It's also okay to say, I'm not sure, but I'll look into it as a financial planner. It's not okay to say, well, your plan doesn't change. Because I've had a number of clients actually who will leave their financial planner and then come to us and say, yeah, we had conversations with them about we don't want to leave money behind. And they keep trying to make us leave money behind and saying, well, you can't do that. You can't do that. You need to save more. And having that idea it might be good for you as a planner, both from your own concept of planning and personal side if you're doing AUM. That is a bias there. That is a bias that is also a bit of a conflict to then say, nope, you need to keep building more and not spend it down. But recognize that it's different. It's okay for it to be different. And this just boggles my mind. And it's been years since I've heard this, but I still cannot get over it. Don't ever think that you are the person to have a conversation with your clients and say, all right, you going to have kids or not? Let's get on it. Because I've heard people who will say that they'll have stern conversations with their clients of, okay, are you going to have kids or not? It's not your business. It's just, do they want to? Yes or no? And whatever the answer is fine. Accept it. Move on. People are allowed to live and let live. Be a planner that appreciates whatever person's life path is and whatever their journey is, because it's a very personal decision. And for some clients, it's not an easy one. It might not even be a choice that they were able to make for themselves. It might have been a choice that was forced upon them by circumstances, whatever those were. And that can be incredibly difficult. And so being conscious of that, being kind, those are the most important things.
I love that you bring that up, that it's not always that person's choice that they're child free, because we don't know everybody's story. And until they share that with you, we shouldn't assume, they can still have, they want to have children or are going to have children. Like we were talking before, I always get that question, you don't have kids? You still have time. And I actually I'm older than I look, and I don't have the time frame to have children. But I wish people, that choose to have children at this age bracket. But I don't assume that everybody wants to have kids. But it is something that we're just conditioned to do. That, oh, you're going to have kids? When are you going to have kids? People get married. We ask them that question right away, and we need to give them time to be in their relationship and decide what they want for their relationship or for their future. And I love how you are bringing the kindness back, because a lot of times when people ask that question, well, get on it, or why not? It is extremely personal, and not everybody's going to share day one what their journey is. So without the default goals of paying for college or leaving an inheritance, how do you help child-free clients define meaningful financial goals? Because we can just save for no purpose, but when there's meaning behind it, we're probably more able to feel comfortable spending when it comes to retirement.
So sometimes we'll take an approach called FILE. Financial independence, live early. We've all heard of the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early. But we find that sometimes our clients don't necessarily want to retire, or they want to keep working and do different things. I've had it a number of times where clients are looking to maybe leave their current job, but they're not wanting to be done with the workforce altogether. They're still wanting to do something. They're still wanting to get out. So we're not necessarily saying, let's keep working and let's keep building up a bunch to then retire and switch. Instead, how can we take and enjoy life now? What are the things that we can do? Maybe it's cutting back on work. We have a number of clients who work part-time or 3/4 time, and they flex their schedules differently so that they can go and live their life and do different things and not have to necessarily worry about work on those days that they're off. They're taking time. One of my favorite things to do with clients is, let's get you down to a part-time or 3/4 time schedule, and then let's adjust your weeks. So maybe you are working a full 40-hour week, but you're only doing that for 2 weeks out of the month. And the other 2 weeks out of the month, you're off living life, doing whatever you want and having fun. It doesn't have to be a traditional part-time in the sense of you're only working 20 hours a week every single week. And there's a lot more flexibility that we have now. And one of those conversations, while it doesn't lead to a higher number in a person's bank account, that's okay, because that's not their goal anyway. It's allowing them to live their life, go do those things. We have a number of clients who enjoy traveling and would like to travel more, or just simply want to go out and have different experiences in their area, their local area with friends or family. And it's really, what does that look like? And how can we change your life to fit you? We often say we're doing life and financial planning. So while it might not sound like a financial goal of cutting back to part-time, it is more of, it is a financial goal. It's also a life goal of, can we just work on covering your expenses? We have somebody who works for beer, bowling, and benefits. That's what they do. They just work for those three things. They enjoy their life, and they're not working to build up a giant nest egg anymore. They're covering their expenses. They've saved enough. It's sitting there continuing to grow for them, and they're enjoying their life.
I love that. My brain is going, and I have a question. I love using real life examples. And to me, like if I had met you prior in a prior life, I would have been so excited to have somebody who would come and meet me at the table that I'm setting, being child free. Can you give me an example of how you've turned a client's life around just because you paid attention to this idea that they're not leaving a legacy and you're creating a plan for someone who's child free? Because I have to imagine that there's a lot of like aha moments for them. And like, I don't know, I'm getting excited just thinking how great they feel being heard.
Yes. So one of our most popular podcast episodes on our podcast, the Childfree Wealth Podcast, is actually called I'll Make You Quit Your Job. And that was because when I first started out and I was doing a lot of paraplanning, I would be in meetings with Dr. J, and he would say this phrase over and over to a variety of clients, people who were continuing to work, continuing to hustle for the sake of hustle and feeling like they had to, but weren't enjoying it. He would say, okay, I'll make you quit your job. And I went, man, he's been saying this a lot. I need to start keep track of it. And so I started keeping track of it. And I realized that it's really impactful. We have a lot of clients who they can leave their jobs sooner. And some of them, if they want to keep working, I say, okay, well, we need to work, but that money should be going to a specific purpose. So there are clients who they work, but all of their work just funds their travel. Other ones where they work, but all of that money goes to charity. They donate all of it because they don't need it. And many times the difference is made of we sit down, we look at their numbers, and they're going, well, I can't do any of this for the next 5 to 10 years, but thanks though. It's a nice thought. And we go, 5 to 10 years? What are you talking about? No, you can do this a lot sooner. And so having that conversation with them, usually it takes about 6 months of us working one-on-one for them to really make that jump. But it's having those conversations, pointing it out and saying, you're okay, you're fine. How can we take now and allow you to live your life and enjoy it?
Bri, you're so calm. And I love it because if we were having this conversation, I would be like, okay, sorry, but not sorry, C2P. I'm not talking about my company and quitting this job. But like if I was in their client's position, because I love what I do, like hearing you say that and giving me permission, I would be super excited because after I get into retirement, my personal goal is to own a senior dog rescue. So a senior dog's gonna have a safe place to go for the remaining years. And I would say, okay, Bri, how would we plan this out? And I would rely on you heavily to help me do that because you've given me permission to feel confident to do that. So I just absolutely love it. How can advisors build trust with child-free clients? Because trust is really important. Because if I haven't been heard and I'm not being seen and you're doing a cookie cutter plan for me, I may feel underserved. I might be misunderstood by traditional financial planning narratives. So how can you build trust shifting from planning for couples to child-free clients?
Yeah. I did not come up with this concept, and I wish I could remember where I got it from now, but it's simply shut up and listen. That is what I was reading one day, and I went, wow, that makes a lot of sense. And that's honestly a lot of what I do is just stop talking, let the client talk, and listen to them. And then once you do it, many times we say life and financial planning, and we actually have on our team a social worker. Her name's Fiona. She's a social worker, former therapist, and she's been really instrumental in saying, hey, these are some great practices. We look at a lot of behavioral finance things, and many times it's letting the clients talk, listening to them, and then mirroring it back to them and saying, okay, if I'm hearing you correctly, we need to work on a plan for you to be able to start this dog rescue. Maybe we start it just small right now, and then we're going to build it up over time, but you want to get there eventually. And this is about the timeline that you're looking at. And okay, you're continuing to work right now, but let's take and use some of those funds to start that rescue. And can we figure out a way for all of the money that you're earning to funnel into the rescue so this can grow? And when you retire, then we're going to take your rescue full time. Does that sound correct to you?
You just made me excited that I was like, I could retire and do this, Bri.
Yeah.
I'm like giddy, like a little schoolgirl hearing you say that. So that's amazing. As we're wrapping up our time together, Bri, I have lots of questions I can ask you that are off the cuff, and I'm not sure it would just be interest to me or the listening audience. But if somebody wants to get better at working with child-free clients, do you have any words of wisdom or where they could start? Because sometimes it's awkward when you're kind of changing up what you're doing. If you're always used to working a certain way, you want to take over and change everything all at once, but that necessarily doesn't always work. What advice would you give to somebody saying, I really want to tap into being better at this?
Yeah. Again, it's that just shut up and listen part. I was like, man, that sounds so stark, but it does work. Just listen. And then also go and read a lot of different things from child-free people. There's more and more articles that are being put out there. There's different podcasts now. There's, even creators online. Just listen to them and read through the comments, read through the bias. It's heartbreaking to me, and I don't like pointing it out because it's hard, but if you go through and you read the comments of a child-free creator, some of them have their comments monitored, some of them don't, but you can see how hard it can be and just the mean things people will say that are very pronatalist. And there's nothing wrong with having children, like I said earlier, live and let live, but recognizing that bias exists, acknowledging it, and saying, okay, I want to be better, I want to help, and just being willing to listen to your client. Again, so much of what we do as financial planners, I think we can all become a better financial planner by listening more and just listening to listen. Sometimes, we've heard it. It's there listening to have a response. Don't listen to have a response. You don't need that. Sometimes it's just listening to really hear that client. That's the thing I would start with for anybody looking to be better.
Well, you said it. Shut up and listen is impactful. It feels stark. It feels a little bit like it's outside of my character to say that, but we were given one mouth and two ears. So we should be doing more listening to our clients because we can make a better holistic plan by listening, paying attention to what they're saying, watching the body language. You may have two people in the office that are married with childless and they react to things differently. So you're involving both of them as you're having that conversation. Bri, you're so inspiring to me. So if somebody wanted to listen to your podcast, the Childfree Wealth Podcast, is that found on most podcast platforms?
Yep. You can find it on most podcast platforms as well as YouTube, just searching Childfree Wealth. We are Childfree Wealth on everything, which makes it really easy to find, but it should pop up.
Awesome, Bri. Thank you so much for being a guest here. And from a childless person, thank you for doing what you do. It's impactful. And I appreciate what you do for people like myself.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to the Bucket Plan on Demand, brought to you by C2P, an organization whose purpose is to educate, train, grow, and support holistic financial advisors so families can achieve true prosperity. Subscribe today for the latest episodes and insights. Visit c2penterprises.com to learn how we can help support and enhance your advisory business. At the time of delivery and any subsequent publishing, information was deemed reliable, but is subject to change by the time of listening or viewing. The contents of this piece include options and projections of C2P, are subject to change, and are for informational purposes only. The information provided in this presentation is not intended to be individual investment, tax, or legal advice.